Over the centuries and across every corner of the globe, so many wildly different foods, drugs, and other substances have been prescribed as aphrodisiacs that it is impossible to list them all. Instead, it is more useful to group them into three basic categories: substances with physiological effects, those with psychological effects, and those whose action is based on magic, ritual, or the good old-fashioned placebo effect. Of these three categories, the third is by far the most extensive, for until very recently, medicine, magic, and spirituality were inextricably intertwined. Among the earliest records of aphrodisiac rituals come from the ancient Egyptians, who worshipped the god of the underworld, Osiris, and his wife, Isis, as sources of life and fertility. In one recorded springtime ritual, Egyptians would wash a statue of Osiris in wine and anoint it in oil. Anyone who licked the oil off the statue was thought to be protected from impotence and infertility. Similarly, cultures from around the world prescribed various amulets, often shaped like genitalia, as fertility aids, while an ancient Greek wine cup dating from the 8th century BC bears the inscription, "Whoever drinks from this cup, beautifully crowned, Aphrodite's desire will seize him immediately." Though whether this desire was supposed to derive from Aphrodite's blessing or the effects of the wine itself is not clear. Other aphrodisiacs known to the ancient Egyptians included the blue lily and a beetle related to the more famous Spanish fly. Unlike licking oil off a statue, however, use of these aphrodisiacs had a far more pharmacological justification, for blue lily is now known to contain compounds similar to sildenafil, aka Viagra. These compounds stimulate the release of nitric oxide into the bloodstream, relaxing smooth muscle tissue and allowing blood to flow into and engorge one's happy bits. Meanwhile, Spanish fly and its relatives contain a powerful irritant called cantharidin, which induced inflammation and increased blood flow throughout the body. But more on that later. A far stranger entry into the Egyptian sexual pharmacopoeia was the dung of baboons, which, in addition to being the physical embodiment of the gods, Thoth and Babi, were revered for their relentless sexual appetites. Indeed, the vast majority of the ancient aphrodisiacs were selected not for any observable physiological effects, but rather their symbolic associations, because humans are stupid. This practice was later codified by the 1st century CE Roman physician Claudius Galen as the doctrine of signatures, which held that God had deliberately created each plant to resemble the specific body part it was intended to treat. Thus, if a plant resembled, for example, the human liver, then it was prescribed to treat ailments of the organ because, sure, why not? This is the reason many common plants sport curiously anatomical names such as liverwort, lungwort, spleenwort, toothwort, and eyebright.